Snoop's bodyguard has the gun already drawn and aimed when Lil Philip reached for his own pistol, that moment that almost killed Snoop's career before it ever took off. In 2013, Snoop Dogg is known for three major things: his music, his acting, and his BFF relationship with Martha Stewart. It's one thing to be famous, it's another thing to be a household name, and then there's Snoop, where everything you touch just turns to gold. This man has his own esports league, line, multiple TV shows. He did commentary for the 2021 Olympics, performed at the Super Bowl, holds a Guinness World Record for making the largest cocktail, hogs NFTs, and a brand ambassador for Beyond Meat. By the time I finish saying all this, he's probably launched a new business venture, something to do with hydroponic farming on Mars with Elon Musk. He's just the type of dude who would do that. What I'm trying to say is Snoop has attained supernova levels of success, and in the process, he's built his image as the ultra cool OG that is completely lovable. He's the uncle that everyone wishes they had. But what a lot of people might not remember is that Snoop held gang affiliations his entire career. He might be a superstar, but he's a rolling 20 Crip first. He was first arrested at 19 for possession, and by the time he linked up with Dr. Dre, Snoop had spent 3 years going in and out of jail. Dre was the flagship artist of Death Row Records at the time, and Snoop was basically his protege. But while he was recording his first album, Snoop caught the case that threatened to destroy not only his career, but potentially his freedom forever. On August 25th, 1993, Snoop was driving back to his apartment with his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, also known as Malik. As they pulled up, Snoop spotted a crew of rival gang members posted in front of his building. Snoop recognized one of the men as Lil Philip, who had flashed a gun at him before during a video shoot. Things quickly escalated, with Snoop's bodyguard pulling a weapon and Lil Philip reaching for his own 380. Malik fired on Lil Philip while they were standing in the topless Jeep. Snoop quickly hit the gas and drove off with Malik. Lil Philip was hit and killed, and Snoop went on the run from LAPD. With the LAPD looking for him, Snoop still went ahead and popped up at the VMA Awards. It wasn't until afterwards that he turned himself in, still rocking the same fit he had on at the red carpet. Snoop and Malik were facing murder charges, but were defended by the legendary attorney Johnny Cochran, the same man who defended OJ during his murder trial. One of the key facets of the defense case is that the notoriously corrupt LAPD mishandled evidence, which made the investigation look more and more unreliable. It also came out that some of Snoop's rivals stashed Lil Philip's gun, so it looked like he was unarmed when he got gunned down. Snoop and Malik were found not guilty and went free, but Snoop's troubles were far from over. During all this, he was embroiled in the middle of an East Coast-West Coast beef that defined a lot of hip-hop during that period. At the 1995 Source Awards in New York, Snoop and Dre were booed on stage, and Snoop went as far as to confront the crowd. And remember, he's in hostile territory at this point, so we had to walk a fine line of cooling tensions without looking like a punk. Since he was part of Death Row, Snoop was without a doubt exposed to some of the ugliest and most violent shit in the industry. Suge Knight, who owned the company, was way more of a gangster than a record executive, and he was infamous for serving beatdowns to anyone who he perceived disloyal or disrespectful. Considering that Snoop was a Crip signed to the label run by Bloods, you got to imagine the type of survival instincts he had to carry in order to navigate that situation. Dr. Dre dipped from the label, and Tupac was murdered while in Vegas with Suge. Suge was sent to prison in 1997, and Snoop had to regroup, setting himself up with Master P's No Limit Records over in Louisiana. In the years since then, Snoop went from being one of the biggest artists on the West to one of the most successful artists ever. When Suge was released from prison, Snoop and him got caught up in some public beef, only for Snoop to forgive him and actually purchase Death Row Records to become its new owner. When you think about it, a lot of the people Snoop came up with did not sustain their careers for half as long as he did. For Snoop to go from being the next big thing back in '93 to only become more relevant, more powerful, and more influential in 2023 is crazy. That kind of 30-year run is almost unprecedented in hip-hop. And you can't help to factor that he's came up in one of hip-hop's deadliest eras through one of the most notorious record labels in music history. Snoop's name still carries a lot of street cred. His gang lifestyle might be in the past, but he still Cripped walked during the Super Bowl. There's a reason why pretty much every West Coast artist in the past few decades, from K-Dot to The Game to Nipsey to YG, have all shouted him out and paid respects, even if they represented rival sets. Snoop's name isn't just ubiquitous in pop culture, he's still considered a heavy hitter in LA, and that isn't likely to ever change. So the next time you see Snoop pop up on a Pepsi commercial or get hired to host a TV game show, just remember that for him to climb from those streets to those boardrooms, it took the kind of grit and survival instincts that very few possess. He may look like Uncle Snoop, but there's a reason why rappers from LA to New York will either hype him up or just stay out the way.